Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Ladies and gentlemen, we have three banging topics for you here today. We're talking about the Elite 3. Finally, some information on exactly when and what this controller is going to have in it. I'm very excited. As a matter of fact, man, they already got my money. I bought the Fallout Elite controller because I play Call of Duty, and quite frankly, I have tried numerous controllers from Scuffs and other, like branded, hey, use me, I'm good at first person shooters. And the one I continue to come back to, Jamie, is the Elite 2. But of course, the Elite 3 is something that we're all going to be looking forward to. We're going to get into that story. We also, of course, going to be talking about HELLBLADE 3 being the next project from Ninja Theory. I know you have questions about Project Mara, but, well, folks, I got some theories, I got some thoughts, and we have a confirmation from Jez Corden of Windows Central, where he discusses exactly what happened or what is happening to Project Mara. But, keeping with Jez Corden in mind, last week, obviously, we had the Tuesday edition of the Xbox Factor podcast, as we always do. And unfortunately, we had a bombastic article released on Wednesday that really was chock full of information from, of course, Jez Corden. And I didn't get a chance to talk with Umbra or the Elusive Gamer, aka Jamie Moran. We're going to get their thoughts on what they thought was the most exciting story within this ginormous story, and what Xbox first party game that's been confirmed are they most excited about coming this year. And quite frankly, it is a list of lists. But Jamie, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. A little bit under the weather, but I'll get there. Just happy to talk about some gaming. Been playing a lot of games in the meantime. Arc Raiders has taken my soul. Please help me. It's really addictive, but it's a good experience for me because I don't typically have a video game I can regularly play because I mainly stick to single player games. But hey, gaming's good right now. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, gaming is good. There is a lot to get excited about. And look, I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen, to open up the show as we await Infinite Umbra's, triumphant return to the Xbox Factor podcast. This year already has been a year full of news, but not just gaming news, ladies and gentlemen. Xbox gaming news. And I said this, and I will say it again, and until I prove it wrong, I'm going to reiterate it. I was hoping for a celebratory 2026 in a way that we've never seen before. And it does appear that is, in fact, happening. Since January 1st, when the midnight struck 12:01, we started to see an influx of Xbox gaming news in one way, shape, form, or another. And like I said, my only concern when it comes to Xbox is that, occasionally they do step on some rakes. This is the one year, Jamie Moran, that I'm hoping no rakes are stepped on. Because it should be about the games. It should be about the peripherals, i.e., of course, the Elite 3, which we're going to get into a little bit later. There is some conversation. King David put out a video, so shout out to King David from the Iron Lords, talking about that, he has it on good authority that OEM hardware is still happening, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I'm right there with King David. I believe that the OEM hardware is happening. And I do still believe, even though this has not been confirmed by any source that I know, that they have partnered with Asus or Asus the same way they did for the handheld. I do think that it would really behoove Xbox to put out another piece of hardware that's Xbox branded, that isn't a handheld, that could very well be a preview into what Magnus is going to be in 2027. And look, the truth of the matter is that Xbox, if they can get this OEM hardware out of the door, Jamie Moran, they are going to be in a position where we know that they're going to be putting into process 5+ million Series X and S consoles this year. And it's not just for GTA. GTA, sure, is a big part of it, Jamie. But I don't think it's the only part of it. Xbox obviously wants people to play on their hardware. Now, granted, it's not the only thing or the only place Xbox wants gamers to mosey onto, so to speak. They want you to play on any screen that's available to you, whether that be your PC, your tablet, your phone, your handheld, or your traditional TV. Right? No, they don't care where you play. They want you subscribed to Xbox Game Pass. They want you playing their games. They want you spending the microtransactions, and they're going to get a lot of those that spending from, of course, PlayStation gamers. We got a story that we're going to get into a little bit later about how many games are actually being released on PlayStation this year from Xbox Game Studios. And again, folks, it's not meant as slander or console war rhetoric. It's just dictating the facts. And right now, it appears, based on what we know, Jamie Moran, there are going to be more games coming out for PlayStation from Xbox Game Studios than PlayStation Studios, which only really will equate to one exclusive. And that one exclusive is going to be Wolverine. Now, it's a big one, sure, but the other two games, well, Saros is an exclusive. Let me not forget about Saros. I keep under baking that one. I think Saros is going to come out. It's going to sell 1 million copies, and that's about it. MLB The Show, obviously, it's a multi-plat. And Marathon, I don't think has a chance to win any hearts and minds. I think that game's going to come out and flop. But that's just my opinion on it. Jamie Moran, I know that I'm changing up the show a little bit, but I want to talk hardware before we get into, of course, the other couple of topics that we have here while we await Umbra to join us. OEM hardware is not a guaranteed, but it's a rumor that's been around for a while. And interestingly enough, in this big Jez Corden article, he does make mention of hardware being revealed. Now, he does not go on to say that hardware would be released, because we've heard some different things, especially with your words, the Rampocalypse, as it's known, thanks to you, that we may not see a next generation Xbox until 27, 28, 29. I don't think that's the case. I do think that it is going to come out next year as planned. Sony's, I don't know so much about that, but I can say about Xbox, I believe their hardware is happening next year, but I also believe that OEM hardware is releasing this year. I want to get your thoughts on how confident you are that we do get OEM hardware.
I mean, the ROG Xbox Ally proves that they will do, third-party Xbox hardware, So will it happen at some point? That wouldn't surprise us. I mean, if you think about it, a console and a controller, like, why not just do third-party of both of them, right? Everyone makes Xbox controllers, right? I was looking at a Razer Xbox controller before because it has Hall effect sticks, right? So, like, why can't other people make a console? Completely get that. The thing I don't get, right, is that, the Rampocalypse is happening. Everything's, going up in price. As of right now, I'm perfectly happy with my Xbox Series X. I've never once played a game and thought, oof, this is a bit blurry. Like, oh, why is it running at 2 frames per second? I've never thought that, right? I'm very happy with the performance and how games look on my my console. And it's been a weird generation. We can all admit that, these consoles we have right now came out when we were all stuck in the house, like it was a weird launch for a console. Many games were delayed multiples of years. And like, if Microsoft and Sony don't want to release consoles for the foreseeable future, I think people would be fine with it. I know I'd be fine, at least. But like, when it comes to the OEM stuff, let's say hypothetically the Magnus is coming out in 27, just hypothetically, the fancy new first party Xbox next gen console. I don't see how OEM hardware would come first, because that means it would have to be an Xbox Series X. Like, who's going to release the next gen Xbox first? Microsoft, or let's say Lenovo, right? If we do see third party hardware this year, it has to be a series console. But at that point, what's the point of making it? Because it's just going to be a Series X or Series S that looks different. It's not going to be more powerful because they're not going to be sending out dev kits to make more powerful, Xbox Series games. So it just makes sense to, get the Magnus out first, made by Microsoft, then a year or two, Lenovo, Samsung, or whatever company you think of comes out with their own, right? That's the only way that makes sense to me. And look, I think the Series X it's fantastic hardware. I love the design. It's quiet. It's got quick resume. My games perform great. They look great. I have backwards compatibility. I don't see a need for next generation hardware just yet, and I think that I honestly think Microsoft might push things back a bit, because if you look back at the series consoles when they were announced in December 2019, the Xbox Scarlet, what it was called, we kind of knew about that as a project title for a year and a half beforehand. Microsoft just kind of teased like a subtle logo. They didn't really show anything. I think, given the whole RAM situation, the fact that you can't launch $1,000 console, at least you should. Like, look at the reaction at the Steam machine.
Yes.
Wow. Like,
yeah, not good.
Like, look, that little Steam machine, by the way, I think that's a gorgeous PC. That is a stunning piece of hardware. By the way, I'm a very big fan of the minimalist look, so hence I like the look of the Xbox. But like £1,000 console, £1,000, that's what it'll be in the UK, right? They just like to slap the same number on with a different logo on the side. I can't see £1,000 consoles or $1,000 consoles being the thing. I think Microsoft, I think Sony, Nintendo got their next gen console out, thankfully, before this stuff happened. I think next gen's going to be put off, man. I really do, and I think it would be better for all of us. We have more time to get, game time in these consoles. Developers are still squeezing some really good stuff. Like, look, I keep talking about Arc Raiders because maybe I'm an addict, I'll admit. But like, that game,
Maybe a
we've
little bit.
complained this entire generation about Unreal Engine 5. There's been a very small handful of games that look and perform great using that engine. People on PC are always complaining about stutters in Unreal Engine 5 games, and you have Arc Raiders come along, looks amazing, performs amazing, and it's Unreal Engine 5. Like, developers can still get lots out of these consoles. And like, look, hardware is an exciting topic. It always is. Doesn't matter what time of year it is or what year it is. I just think with the current situation and how this generation's been completely weird, I think it would be Microsoft's best interest if they don't even put out a console till maybe 28, right? By then, prices have gone down a bit. The consoles we have now, because back in the day, it always used to be consoles were more powerful than PCs. This is like the 90s and early 2000s. Now it's not really like that, because the consoles we have now are essentially PCs. And the PC components are always way stronger when the next gen consoles come out. So like, I think it's Microsoft and Sony's best interest to put it off, right? Microsoft's been talking about next gen hardware for years now because they have to reassure people that they're making one every 5 seconds. It's like, it's the 13th of January so far. Microsoft hasn't stepped on a rake. I saw him chat a few times.
Thank goodness.
And thank God. And look, Microsoft, they had a great year last year when it came to their games. Fantastic lineup, right? Great lineup. They announced more games that came out last year in the same year than they ever have before, right? It was a great year. We had remakes, remasters, new games, sequels. Great. Personally, and just looking at the industry, I can't see how it's viable to even launch because this RAM situation, I hate mentioning the RAM situation a lot because it's kind of boring, but it's true, because like, there's only like 3 companies I think it's 3 or 4 companies on Earth that make these RAM modules, and like one of them is going to stop supplying to consumer electronics this year, at least one of them. So like the RAM situation isn't going to get better in like let's say 2 weeks. It's going to get worse, and it's going to be a lasting effect that goes on for maybe 3 or 4 years. Right? Right. So like while I do see the OEM hardware coming, that'll be after Magnus, maybe 1 or 2 years. But I still think Magnus will be put off till 2028. And I think we'll all be better off for it. You look at the trailers for GTA 6. Has anyone looked at that and thought, wow, that's ugly? You know, like every time a GTA is announced and shown off, people think it can't be like that on the hardware we have. And the game comes out and it looks better than that. Same happened with San Andreas. Same thing happened with GTA 4 and GTA 5. Right when GTA 5 was first shown off, people said this could not run on a 360 or PS3. Then the game came out, blew people's mind holes. Right, and the same thing's going to happen this time. I think hardware, it's always exciting, right? We love talking about hardware, but given the situation, I really think Microsoft's not going to do it. And when they announced the Xbox Series X, the way they did, they shocked the world. Nobody expected a console to be announced like that.
Yep.
They kind of took the legs from underneath themselves because Sony and Nintendo, they announced their consoles literally a couple of months before they come out, right? So through that entire year, people are buying their console, right? They're buying these consoles, and then there's a new console announced, and then people want to buy that one. When Microsoft announced the Xbox Series X, the sales of the Xbox One X really slowed down, and that didn't help them. So, like, I think Microsoft, this is just me. People might not like it. I think Microsoft really needs to go back to the traditional announcement style of consoles. Do it at E3, show your console off, and then we'll get it in 2028. But I think announcing it now, just talking about it all the time, the way Microsoft is, and like, look, when you talk about hardware, it's exciting. But I just looking at the prices of RAM for my PC and other people's PCs, like TVs are going up in price already. Like my friend was going to buy a car and he told me that the RAM is listed next to the price like of a car. So it's a bit of a it's a bit of a weird situation. But yeah, I do see OEM hardware coming, but like 2029 for that, 2028 for the Magnus. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Well, look, I have Jez Corden's article, which I have already added to the show notes. And you might be asking, well, why are you pushing his article so hard? Am I getting paid for this? The answer is I am not. It's a well-written article. I consider Jez Corden a good friend. I've met him numerous times, and I like the work that he does at Windows Central. I truly, truly do. He is a journalist that I like using their stuff because as sometimes Jez, when he gets on the podcast and he's drunk, does he say crazy things? Yes, but he's a damn good writer. So look, let me just read a couple of paragraphs from this monster-sized article that he put out, which again is in the show notes, so you guys and gals in the chat could give it a click and give it a read because it is really chock full of information. So Jez goes on to say this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm reading verbatim. I reported last year that the next Xbox will run full bore Windows, and that it is still the plan. In partnership with AMD, the next Xbox will utilize the Windows 11 full screen experience. Now, we're already seeing that happen with the Xbox ROG and the Xbox ROG Ally X. And it goes on to say, with the Xbox PC app to deliver its console interface. Microsoft is working on major updates to the Xbox PC app to accommodate this, bringing it more closely in line with what Xbox console players will expect when engaging with a device on their TV rather than their desk. Now, he continues by saying this, ladies and gentlemen, where it diverges with the traditional, quote, PC is in its ability to actually run games compatible with the Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. Microsoft announced that it is partnering with AMD to enable Xbox games on this PC-like device. Existing Xbox console users' entire libraries will come forward with them to the new Xbox as Microsoft continues to commit to backwards compatibility in a really big way. But this is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, chat. Jez goes on to say this: I'm told we should also see new Xbox hardware this year. I suspect we'll finally see the Xbox Elite Controller Series 3 break cover in 2026 and perhaps even other controller revisions. I'm told Microsoft's next generation Xbox controllers all support direct to Wi Fi connectivity, eliminating Bluetooth latency from cloud gaming scenarios. But here's an interesting part. And of course, we're going to get into and segue into the Elite 3 controller because I have a lot of thoughts on that. He says there's a chance that we'll see more, and this is interesting, folks, quote, Xbox branded OEM hardware taking advantage of the Xbox full screen experience on Windows, similar to the Xbox Ally. I've been working through some credible rumors that we could see an OEM Xbox PC in 2026, but time will tell whether or not that one pans out. So when he says this, it's a bit of a head scratcher because you're saying, well, wait a second. I mean, isn't Xbox PC and PC Xbox? This is the OEM device I think that I'm talking about, and I think that is what he is referring to. I don't think it's going to be a tower-looking Xbox PC. Who wants that? I don't want that. I want a box that fits underneath my TV and plays the games how and where I want them to play. So I don't know if we're going to see this OEM device. I still believe we are. I am going to say this. I'm 100% confident, Jamie Moran, that we will definitely see an announcement for next generation hardware, whether that be at the official 25th anniversary, whatever they're going to do, the Game Awards, or in June at the June showcase. There's a good chance, I would say 100% chance that we are going to get a hardware reveal, but I don't think it's the traditional only hardware. I do think that we could, again, this is just me speculating, folks, that we could in fact get OEM hardware, and I actually hope that we do in some form or fashion, because again, this is my speculation. If it is a preview into what Magnus is going to be for their own handheld, their own box underneath the TV, I'm down for that. They could take my money. But before we get into the Elite 3, I want to welcome in my brother from Chi-Town, whose team is in the playoffs. Infinite Number, how are you feeling, sir? Welcome back.
Oh man, it feels good to be back. Boom. Sorry for the lateness. I lost track of time. You know, I will say it feels good to see the Bears. I haven't watched football in a long time, man. I really haven't. But to see the Bears get up there and doing what they're doing, and
the Bears big comeback, dude.
Big crazy comeback this past Saturday, whatever. It does. I won't lie. It makes a brother want to get reinvested again. It does into the NFL. Hopefully, listen, I don't want to jinx it now because I hadn't been watching them all this time. So I feel like if I jump back into it fully, I might jinx them and all of a sudden they lose. And there goes the Super Bowl, if they make it there. So I'm just going to watch from the sidelines, and hope them the best.
Yeah, well, my team sucks. Shout out to Rick L in the chat. He says, sorry about your Steelers. Yeah, they suck. Tomlin needs to be fired and they need to change everything. They have like a gazillion draft picks. They need to rinse and put a whole bunch of new staffers in there.
Wait, you got the Steelers as your team and you're in New York?
Yes. You know what's funny? I know this is about video games. We're going to get to it. So when I was a kid, ladies and gentlemen, anybody old enough to remember the Sears book? At your grandma's, right? You'd go to the Sears book and you'd look through it and you'd see all the Star Wars figures or the G.I. Joes or the Light Brights or whatever, right? Like I looked for the G.I. Joes and the Thundercats and the He-Man. That was my thing. I was an 80s kid. So when I was a kid, meaning like a kid, like sitting on my dad's lap kind of a kid, he brought the book over my father was a diehard Jets fan. And if you remember back in the days, this is before cosplay was a thing. They had the little football uniforms, and he wanted to buy his son a football uniform. So he goes into the book and he's looking around. He says, "Which uniform do you want?" It had the fake plastic helmet with the jersey of the quarterback, and he points to Namath. And I'm like, "No, I don't want that. Like, I don't like that." "Well, what quarterback do you want?" And I look over and I pick number 12 for the Steelers, which was Terry Bradshaw. And he goes, "Why do you want to pick the Steelers? You're in New York." I wanted the Steelers. He bought me the Steelers. I wore Terry Bradshaw's little mini jersey with this fake ass helmet. And for years, he was always perplexed on why I became a Steelers fan. And my only excuse is that I was born in New York, but my soul came from Pittsburgh, and I've been a fan since watching them since 1976, ladies and gentlemen. I have never wavered. They've had some really terrible quarterbacks, but they've had a lot of really good ones, and they've had only 3 coaches in the franchise's history. Chuck Noll, only 3 coaches. That's it. Chuck Noll, of course, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. 3 coaches in all of the years of that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been a thing, which is it's never been done before. No one's ever done anything like that. But yeah, Tomlin's got to go. But listen, I'm sorry for that rant, folks. I know people are probably yawning in the chat. So Umbra, one of the big topics for here today is the Elite 3 controller. And, Jez Corden of Windows Central made mention it in his big monster-sized article that he put out last Wednesday that everyone has been using for content after content because it's so literally loaded with information. Well, what's interesting about the Elite 3 is this is something that's been in development for quite some time. So there is a Xbox, a Spanish YouTuber, and it's not Ecstasies, if you can believe it or not. It goes by the name of Naughty Xbox on Twitter. He's a Spanish YouTuber, ladies and gentlemen. And again, when I see these things, I pull them. I give the poster credit, of course. I will add the link in the show notes so you can check it out. But the Elite 3 this is not a mystery. This is not a rumor. The Elite 3 is happening. What Jez Corden said in his article that kind of lines up with what Naughty Xbox had to say is that version that we've all been waiting for is going to happen this year. I don't know if it was specifically held back to be a big part of the 25th anniversary of Xbox Infinite Number. I don't actually know. If it did, that's great. I mean, that's good marketing because obviously people are going to buy it. There's probably going to be a 25th anniversary version of it. I will be buying that because I have the 20th anniversary regular controller literally sitting right here. But according to Nauticus Xbox on Twitter, he says the Xbox Elite Series will supposedly arrive in 2026. And this is some of the features. This gets very interesting. And Jamie, I'll bring you in on the back and get your thoughts on this because for me personally, like I said in the opening, I play a lot of Call of Duty. It was my most played game in 2025. It's probably going to be my most played game in 2026. Yes, there are some things about 7 that are not great. I like 6's maps a pinch better, but I've found a lot of weapons and some of the maps in like for instance Skyjack, the one with the on the ship. It's normally hijacked, but during the holidays it was skyjacked, and it was Santa Claus was pulling this thing. It's a dope map. I love that map. It's close quarters. It's 2 points of contention and everybody fights in the middle. It's great.
I've heard most people's issues have came with the campaign
yes, I would agree. The multiplayer is phenomenal. The campaign is just dumb. I'm sorry. It's a down year for them, and it was the campaign really comes off as we just needed to add something, so let's just add this. That's really what it is. I don't like it, but it's fine. I'm not here for the single player anymore. I'm here for multiplayer. And that brings me to the point of really needing an Elite 3 controller. I want to say I have about 6 or 7 of the Elite 2s. I'm not sorry that I have that many. I do go through them. I think that the half pull triggers on these controllers are the best out there now. And you might be asking, well, wait a second, there's Scuff and there's all these other controllers. I've tried them all. As a matter of fact, there was a Black Ops 7 Scuff controller that was a bit pricey, just a pinch under $200. I bought it, and guess what, folks? I don't use it. Now, I'm not going to trade it in or sell it. It's a Black Ops 7 controller, and I love controllers, but I like the Elite 2 way better. Their half-pull triggers, for me, work better. And the controller, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I've tried a lot of controllers. There is no better controller than the Xbox Series controller. That's it. I don't want to hear anybody. But, Umbra, here is what Naughty Xbox on Twitter had to say what's going to be arriving in the Elite Series 3. He says it's going to have Wi-Fi chip integrated, so it's less lag for cloud gaming. I think that's brilliant because, of course, they're pushing Xbox Anywhere. Advanced haptic vibration, very similar to the DualSense, which I like. I like the DualSense a lot. The battery sucks, but I do like the DualSense. The only thing I don't like about it are the sticks that are side by side. I hate that about the PlayStation controller. But according to, of course, the poster, it says Hall effect sticks with, quote, zero drift. Motion sensors for automatic power on when picking it up, which I think is dope. So if you go to pick up your controller, boom, your console is going to come on, and your controller is going to come on. Yes. So the question he asks is, will you buy? My answer is abso-freaking-lutely. Chad, I want to get your thoughts and read some of the chat live on the air. Umber, are you in the market for an Elite Series 3, and are you hoping that some of the things that came the way of the PlayStation 5's DualSense make its way into the new Xbox Elite 3?
You know, the one thing I want from them to bring from the DualSense is the ability for us to blow into our controllers. We really need that feature.
Oh, no.
I couldn't even keep a straight face when I was saying it. I felt so violated when I was playing Astrobot, and they were like, blow into the controller. I'm like, I don't want to do this.
I don't know so much about that. That's a little, it's a little, as the kids like to say, ick. It's giving me the
being
ick.
Forced against my will. I have to blow into it. But, it just, if I had to say, it would probably be the haptic. But at the same time, I just don't think there's any controller that feels as great in my hand as the Elite 2 that I've had. I have the Elite 2 myself, the red and black one. My favorite colors, of course. Hell, I'm looking at it right now. It, to me, is the best controller I've ever held. Nice. There are some competitors now. Now, I will say the Elite 2 has the ergonomics down pat, but there are some that come close, and there are some that have better features. So, for instance, we have like the GameSirs, right? The GameSir G7 Pro. GameSir G7 Pro is excellent. Like, not only does it feel just about as great, or maybe as great to some, as the Elite 2 controller, but it has a lot of great features, right? And a lot of them, what they're talking about on this tweet here that you're talking about, is what the Elite 3 might have and should have. So the TMR thumbsticks, that to me is a must. They have to have those now, right? Because you don't want the games like what you're playing here heavily from Call of Duty, first-person shooters, or whatever it may be, whatever first-person shooter it may be, or sports games, things like that. You want to have reliable sticks where we don't have stick drift. One of the bigger problems with the Elites have been a stick drift, right? And also the triggers. So as long as they can get that down pat, that will take care of a lot of issues. TMR are a higher level than Hall Effect. Why so serious? So that's why I went with TMR. And I feel like if you're going to give us the Elite 3, give us the best. TMR will be the highest end option. So TMR, things that I'm saying that I want them to take from this. Give us, the 1,000 hertz polling rate that the controllers.
Yes, dude.
You know,
that's what I'm talking about.
give us the low latency that we desire, like at a 2.4 hertz, something like that, or gigahertz, should I say, to make it really low latency so that we have better feedback with it that's closer to, someone playing with, on keyboard and mouse, right? It won't never be quite as close, but it can at least get you closer there. Hold on, yes, Black John. Yes. Now, one of the things people always, at least those on the outside of Xbox, would always whine about is, oh, you got to change the batteries. But any of us that have gamed on these Xbox controllers know these batteries last for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And not only do they last a long time, our controllers typically don't die out too fast, right? Because of it. And then also you can get reusable batteries. There's so many ways around it. But one thing I do love about the Elite is that you give it a solid charge,
bro, 40 hours.
That thing lasts forever, it feels like.
Yeah,
so give us a nice rechargeable battery. I'm not sure how high they can go with it. I don't know if they can go into something like, I don't know if they could. Maybe they could. Maybe they can go approach the 3,000 or 4,000 milliamp or whatever it will be. I'm not sure how far they can go with that. I'm not sure how far they have gone already. Going off the top of the head right now. But a nice built-in rechargeable battery that lasts for a long time would be the way to go too. And this has been a long time coming. They've been talking about, we've all been speculating about the Elite 3 for years. So if you're going to come out, make a statement with it, right? So give all the top features, TMR thumbsticks, low latency 2.4 gigahertz, the 1,000 polling rate.
It needs those. These are not things that should be suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to move the needle forward in your design, these things need to be. Look, let me just say this, and I'll give you back the mic.
Yep.
Anyone that has purchased an Elite controller, when you get that controller, and I'm not talking about the one that doesn't come with anything because you don't want to spend the extra money. I'm talking about, like, for instance, you bought the Elite 2, the black model or the white one. You bring home the package, you open it up, it feels premium. The whole thing, from opening box to controller in hand, it just feels premium. Now, I would expect that the third one is going to have that same feelings, but when we start talking about some of the features, and I want to give it right back to you so you don't lose your chain of thought, Umbra, these things that you're talking about should not be suggestions. They're necessities, in my personal opinion. And I have at least 6 Elites, so I think I'm a good authority on it.
Yeah, for sure. And I had to look and correct myself. So why so serious when he mentioned Hall effects? They have, you can get Hall effects for the thumbsticks, but they have Hall effects for the triggers too. So you're right. Why so serious? I'm sorry, I didn't misunderstood what you meant. Absolutely, because the G7 Pro has that. They have Hall effect triggers. So yeah, put that on that too. That allows for the triggers not to have the issues that passed in previous Elites had. The TMR will stop the stick drift. By the way, I looked too. They have 1,200 milliamp battery inside of the G7 Pro. They need to match that, if not go a bit higher, right? 1,200 milliamp. That's a long-lasting battery. I should look into it. Somebody in the chat, do me a favor. Look into what's the milliamp battery inside of the Elite 2 controller for me, please, and post it in there in the chat. Because I'm not aware what it is right now. Another thing they could do, and I'm saying this only because I look at other controllers I have. Some of my favorite controllers outside of the Elite or the standard Xbox controller, because that still feels great too, is the GameSir controllers, the higher end ones, and the 8-bit Do. I'm not sure if anyone has used the 8-bit Do controllers.
8-bit is great, dude.
Those are really, really good.
Did you see the new one that just announced? There's a new Xbox
controller. Oh, I saw it. I'm actually going to get that too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to get that too. Yeah, and it has the lit up thumbsticks and stuff. Yeah, I like that. And also got swappable buttons and all of that.
Can I add something before?
Sure.
Just pinch more. I'm not ready to fully. Okay, let me see. Let me walk the line here. Double Barrel Gaming and 8-bit. Let me just say we're working together. I'll have an announcement in the coming weeks on how big that partnership. Remember, I told you last year that there were some things that we were working on behind. 8-bit though, they reached out. We're talking. So I'll say that.
Boom, doing big things for 2026. I see you, brother. Thank you, Reborn. So actually, the Elite is already ahead of the game. The Elite, apparently, according to our good brother in the chat, saying Reborn is 2050 milliamp battery. So they actually don't really need to do that much in that regards. They're pretty good then. Okay, I take that back. They would be downgrading if they went toward the Pro. The G7 Pro. So no, they're good in that regard. Okay, so
don't take any steps back.
Don't go backwards. Stay where you at. So like that's the only thing. Like if I had to say like things like that, yeah, remappable buttons. Like you said, to have trigger options too. I know the G7. I know the 8-bit do, and the G7 allows for that, where you can station half trigger pools for your triggers and stuff like that. So stuff like that I think could go a long way to making the Elite 3 like feel elite. And obviously they got the ergonomics, so I expect them to continue on with great ergonomics and like grips, as far as like texture grips and things of that nature. One thing I would say too is that I would like for Xbox to do is I don't want it to be something where we have to rely on going to, not that this shouldn't be an option. It should be an option where we can go to the design labs and design our controller, obviously.
Yes. Right.
But it would be nice if they gave us something that is akin to, and G7 does this, but GameSir does this, should I say, with their G7. It's like map like plates you can change off of the controller and put on swappable plates. Like that would be cool. Dope. That would be cool to have that for, like options like that. So even if you do get a design that's permanent, or if you buy a controller that's a black controller or a white controller that's elite, I can put these plates on there and change up, and it will be akin to the wraps they have for the console. You know what I mean? So I want them to really think a bit outside the box and add a lot of options for us who love these controllers. It's if there is one mainstay that it seems that all Xbox gamers are united in, is this our love for controllers, right? Yeah. So yeah, just go all out. Don't half-ass it. Like really, put in a great strong effort, especially after all these years. And Xbox has been, in my opinion, the forefront for great controllers. Like people on PC, I need to look into this, but I would venture to say most people who use controllers on PC use an Xbox controller. You know what I mean? So I want them to continue that trend and then just give us something that's worthy of the Elite name.
I mean, it's a good point. And look, they have a great starting point. It was leaps and bounds when the Elite 1 came out. Phenomenal controller, which, by the way, I have in storage. The very sought after Gears of War Elite controller, super rare, very expensive. You go check like the eBays, super expensive. The only problem with that is that the right button on and it happens to a lot of the Elites, it goes. The Elite 2 was leaps and bounds, at least in my opinion, better than the original. And I'm hoping, Jamie Moran, that the Elite 3, which should be dropping this year, I would imagine holiday, will be leaps and bounds better than the Series 2. You'll actually have like a button on there where you can turn around and take pictures. You don't have to press the guide button and Y, which is something I do because I exclusively use Elite controllers because I play Call of Duty a lot. Jamie Moran, let's get your thoughts on what information. Again, it's rumors, right? It's rumors for now. We don't have the exact specs. We don't even have the exact year, but it is being brought to a lot of attention that we could see this controller released this year with a lot of new things that we have already seen come the way of the PlayStation 5 DualSense. I'm cool with that. I just want this thing to look, act, and feel like the Elite Controller 2.0 with a bunch of added goodness. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, the funny thing is, before I get into that, when it comes to stick drift, a lot of us know what it's like. It's annoying, especially if you're trying to hit a long shot in like something like Warzone. You're hitting a moving target where your joystick is already moving by itself. It's not ideal. I have the unbelievable X-Men power of being able to give any controller stick drift within a month, right? I knocked my controllers off the table in the same way every single time, and it turns out if you drop a controller on its sticks, it gives it immediate stick drift. Right? So like, it's an unfortunate thing, and yes, it's a human error. Let's call it a skill issue, if you will. And I just can't help it. Right? No matter what controller I buy, I knock it off the table, sticks first, and it's done. So like a TMR, Hall effect, any of that stuff, give me that. Like, I'm sick of stick drift. Every bloody controller for decades now, stick drift. So I want that. You know, we obviously need the screenshot button. I think that goes without saying. Like the fact that they haven't even slightly updated the Elite 2 to give it a screenshot button surprised me a little bit. I think that, you know, this may be just be for me. My mouse has this little section where you can open up and change the weights inside. I actually really like heavier controllers and heavier mice. I would like to make the controller heavier. That is a weird thing. I know I may be, in the minority there.
It might be the remnants of the Duke controller for you if your hand.
Because that thing weighed like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think I just got used to it. But I just prefer heavier controllers. I think gyro support would be huge. A lot of people have been wanting that because of accessibility. It would work on so many different games, such as racing games. You could use it in things like Call of Duty, Fortnite, all that stuff. I think gyro would actually be like the biggest thing they could put on the controller. And I think a lot of people would use it that even didn't even plan on using it. Let's see what else. Honestly, I don't think they have to change much. Personally, I like the haptics that's currently in the Xbox controller. Some people like the PlayStation one, some people like the Nintendo one. I just like the regular rumble that we have now with the rumble triggers. But that's just me. I don't really think I can't really think of anything else they could add, I think the current controller is great. They just need to, update a few things. So, TMR, Hall effect, gyro support, weight. That's it. That's all I can add.
And I get the thought from the weight, by the way, because like even when you get like premium phones, for those who know like the Samsung Galaxy or the iPhone, like it has a heft to it, and it makes the phone feel better in your hand. So I do get that.
I think maybe it's because like I have my phone in my hand all the time. Maybe I like the idea of like maybe glass or metal. Obviously, I don't think anyone should trust me with a glass controller. That thing will break within a month. But I like the idea of having a section in the controller where you could change weights. That is such an obscure thing that maybe like 5 people, including myself, would use. But that's really all I'd want to add to it.
I mean, listen,
hey, you want to lift weights while you game. I get it.
Yeah, why not?
I'll say this, man. The stick drift situation. I think it was, who was it that said in the chat? Let me look at the chat real quick. Somebody actually said that's one of the like running problems with it. I actually have it, and I have the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 one. It does have stick drift for sure. Again, it's my main controller, and I do use the heck out of it. But it does have some stick drift in there. Now, is it egregious? No, but I'd like a controller that I spent $200 on not to have it personally. So if they could, find a way to, remove that with these, with the Elite 3, it would be greatly appreciated because, these things don't happen immediately unless the controller is already damaged when you buy it. Most of the time, these controllers work right out of the box. There's no problem. And a year later, usually, at least my luck has been, it's always been, oh, I got a problem. I go to look and, oh, I just missed the year warranty on it. So I'm here for whatever they're going to do. I like what both Umbra and Jamie had to say about, getting some extra things in there. Again, these are expensive controllers. They are premium controllers. They're premiumly priced. They also have to be premium in the way that they're designed, especially when it comes to stick drift, because that is a major problem, especially if you play Call of Duty or any of the first person shooters, whether that be Battlefield, which a lot of people aren't playing apparently. They lost like 95% of their players. But I thought Call of Duty was dead, ladies and gentlemen. At least that's what the stands told me. Well, that's not the case. So I know I'm being a little egregious here, but look, gentlemen, and I'm going to go back to Jamie on this one. Jamie, look, when Hellblade 2 came out, most people who have eyes in their heads and weren't console warring realized that this was a masterclass release from Ninja Theory. It was, at least in my opinion, better than Hellblade 1 in every facet possible. Graphically, it was better. Gameplay was better. Sound somehow or another got better than the original, because the original was incredible, especially if you played using headphones. Everything that you may have not liked about Hellblade 1 was fixed in Hellblade 2. Now, was it still a bit of a, I'm not saying anybody in the chat here. I saw, some quotes, on the socials about it being a walking simulator. There's walking in the game, folks. She has legs. I don't know. I mean, until she can float, it's gonna be a walking type of simulator. Well, we got some information that suggests that there's going to be some big changes. But you know what's interesting, gentlemen? When I look back and I say, well, what is Ninja Theory what are they working on? Well, we all thought that Project Mara was going to be a big part, this horror game that they were working on. Now, originally it was pitched as, them putting a bigger spotlight on mental illness, which I think is commendable for sure. Using your artwork, or your art, as an artist, telling this story, not only with Senua, but we thought that Project Mara was going to be this game that it was going to be kind of like PT. It was rumored to be in a singular flat in potentially across the pond, and it was going to be a horror based narrative. Now, whether that horror narrative was going to be in someone's mind or not, we don't really know. But according to Jez Corden, right, and again, people ran with this without actually doing their due diligence. He goes on to say that Project Mara has. Okay, so you know what? Let me read directly so there's no crossed wires here. According to Jez Corden, Ninja Theory's new game is in fact a sequel to Hellblade 2, Hellblade 3. There's no side title like Hellblade 3, whatever. We will know that as the game is being created. But according to Jez Corden, it seems that Project Mara is practically, and again, the word canceled. He didn't use the word canceled. It's because it never really was announced. It was announced that they were making the game, but according to him, it's something that was a project they were working on, and I don't know whether or not it didn't form or become a game, but they are now head down working on Hellblade 3.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
It was more of a concept, is what
it was
he's
a concept. Yes, thank you so much
Yeah.
for the correction. So it was more of a concept than it was ever an announced game. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm here for it if they want to make a horror game, but we do have horror game coming from Kojima, which is expected to be something super special because it's gonna have a bunch of different Avenger level directors like Jordan Peele working on it. So I'm very excited for that. But the one thing that we did here, and again, I'm going to read directly from Jez Corden's article, which is in the show notes, folks. Please, if you missed out on this, give it a read. There's a lot of information here. Jez says in this article, I've heard Ninja Theory's next game will be more combat evolved and interactive than Hellblade 1 and 2, while retaining the cinematic excellence that the studio has become known for. Look, there's not a lot, but they are working on Hellblade 3, folks. That's big news for me. I beat Hellblade 2 multiple times. I think every time I've played it, I've been amazed even more. The rain effects, the weather effects are incredible. The breath coming out when it's cold, the skin when when it's cut, it everything about that game, at least in my opinion, Jamie Moran, was leaps and bounds better than the original. Want to get your thoughts on the fact that it's basically been confirmed that Hellblade 3 is in fact their next game, and this is a release that I think is going to happen at the same time on every platform. Do I think it's going to come to Switch 2? The answer is absolutely not. But do I think it's going to launch on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC at the same time? I do. I think that's how they're moving, and I think that this game is going to release and it's going to be as good. I really would like to see where the story goes, because even after beating 2 multiple times, there's no real distinction on whether or not the people that she met in this game are actually real. Like, there's still no actual distinction. And I got to tell you, I think that keeps in the back of your mind looming is why this game is so appealing, at least for me personally. What are your thoughts on the fact that we have confirmation by numerous sources, including Jez Corden, that Hellblade 3 is in fact the next game from Ninja Theory?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. If you look at Ninja Theory, they really, really know what to do when it comes to like Unreal Engine and the storytelling. The way they do storytelling with the mental element of Senua. Like, I don't think anyone else does it as good as them. They're definitely a unique studio, and those games are fun. The second one greatly improved on the original. The first one had some, let's say, extremely obscure puzzles, where to line the trees properly and that. I almost pulled my hair out playing that. Enjoyed the game, but those tree puzzles, I was like, why are you doing this to me? The sequel, I didn't have that problem. I loved the sequel. I'd like to see where they can take the story, because they clearly learned a lot from the first game. The visual element, like, look, they clearly know what they're doing when it comes to Unreal Engine, right? We talk about Unreal Engine, like how the engine stutters on PC, developers aren't taking advantage of all these things, and then you have Ninja Theory and they put out Hellblade, and that looked incredible. It is a shame about the Project Mao, but that being a prototype or a working thing, I get it. Like, there's lots of games that are in development for a little tiny bit where they're testing things out that we don't even know about. Like, hell, there was a what do you call it? A Batman Beyond, Arkham Beyond game that was like tested, right? Don't get me wrong, I could probably cry myself to sleep at night thinking that we could have had an Arkham Beyond game. But like, these things happen. So like, I get it. It makes sense for Ninja Theory to work on a third game, and like, Hellblade is basically Microsoft's, how shall I put it, Oscar game. That's the best way I can put it. The big award game for like performance, performance capture, soundtrack, and all that stuff. Like, that's their game, and it works well. And it will be interesting to see how long it takes to get the third game out, because like, you play Hellblade 2, and you think, how much better can it look? Because I'm guessing it's going to be a next gen game, so let's say 29, 30 or whatever, however long it takes. They've had enough time to listen to feedback. Some people want open worlds. I think wanting that graphical fidelity in an open world might be a bit much. But like, I think they could do bigger areas, maybe like more gameplay mechanics and stuff. I mean, hell, the second game has way more mechanics than the first game when it comes to just how you explore the world and stuff, how the puzzles work. But like, there's so many different ways they can improve on the sequel. Combat was greatly improved in the sequel. They can improve it even more. Maybe put some, range stuff in with spears or bow and arrows and stuff. Like, they could do anything. And where they could take the story with the mental element, they could really do anything. Like you said, we don't really know if those people were actually real. I think that, Hellblade is an IP. Microsoft really wants to make more of them. Like, we don't actually know how many copies Hellblade 2 sold, But when it comes to these, I'm doing air quotes, Oscar games, you know, it's more about the acclaim and like how people talk about it rather than the amount of copies sold. Like every time the Oscars come on, right? What wins best movie? It's not the new Transformers film. It's always some film you've never heard of called, you know, The Boy with the Cardboard Box for a Head, something like that.
Must have been a Nintendo fan.
Yeah. My God, I still can't believe Microsoft. No, I still can't believe Nintendo launched a cardboard VR headset. Like that was a thing. But yeah, like Hellblade, like Microsoft. I'm sure the third game will be great. It's just it's going to take a long time for that to come out.
And that's fine. Look, that the one thing that we can all agree with when it comes to Xbox Game Studios is they have the greatest, I think, superpower of the big three. And that's time. But I know some people are like, well, it's money, boom, it's Microsoft. Yeah, they're still Xbox, though. You know, Microsoft is Microsoft, Xbox is Xbox. Yeah, they're moving together a little closer now, but the one thing that Xbox has as a platform going for them, in my opinion, more than both Nintendo and PlayStation, is time. And why I say that and why I'll stick to my guns on that is because of how many studios they actually have. They are still close to 30 studios combined with everything. Now, does that mean that they're done buying? No. Does that mean that they're done closing? I hope that they're done closing studios. But they do have 30 studios, or at least 30 plus studios at this point, and everyone is making a game in one, form or factor. Whether that be, places like Treyarch, helping out with Modern Warfare 4, which is coming out later this year in in the fall as it normally does, or like teams that work for id, they're all working together. Machine Games is working on the Indiana Jones. They're working on Wolfenstein 3. Obsidian is apparently working on 4 freaking games because they needed to do more, and they only released 3 games last year. That's
workhorses.
For me, I've said this before. I have friends over at Obsidian, and I'm not saying this to kiss anyone's ass. They're my favorite developer. They are, in my opinion, the tip of spear, the diamond in the crown when it comes to Xbox Game Studios. And I know some people are going to disagree and say, you have a different favorite. That's fine. But there has been no one better in the last 5 years than Obsidian. They have just delivered one banger after another, and they continue to do that. And we have a big anniversary update happening for Avowed, which I'm going to get right back into it. And because of Jamie Moran, I'm going to play the game 1,000% different than my first playthrough, which I cannot wait to get to. But look, let me catch up on Super Chats. Now this is not an Xbox story, but it is a Division 1 story that comes the way of PureXbox.com. And listen, you've heard me talk about the Division. It's something that I play with my brother and our friends that we grew up with. I'm known as Roscoe Jenkins. I'm the guy that always gets in trouble just sitting around minding my business. It's funny how if we were ever to record the commentary, it'd be like Comedy Hour. It just really would be. But let me just catch up on Super Chats here. So we have one for the day. It's me, the broke boy. And of course, that is Will, the broke boy insider, drops a very generous. No, don't do that to me, Will. He drops a very generous $2 Super Chat. He says, Tomlin to Baltimore, Harbaugh to Pittsburgh. No, no, and no. We need there are a couple of really big coaches on the market right now that I think would be excellent head coaches for Pittsburgh. I don't know who that. I have to take a look at them. I have actually written them down somewhere because I listen to a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers news outside of actually podcasting. And listen, I appreciate what Tomlin has done, but my God, that guy is as by the numbers as they come, and it's to the point where the whole thing about being insane, doing the same thing over and over, hoping that it would be a different outcome. That's really what Tomlin is for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry, he's got to go. He's got to go. But thank you so much for the generosity. So look, let me pull this Pure Xbox article. Now, you've heard me talk about PureXbox.com. I don't necessarily know if they know who I am, but I do like a lot of their journalists. I'm hoping to work with them at some point. Maybe someone from the team is listening. But Ben Carey is someone you've heard me mention before. He is a writer. This was posted yesterday at 10 a.m. The header, Infinite Number, is Ubisoft seemingly preparing the Division Definitive Edition ahead of its 10-year anniversary that's happening in a couple of months. So Ben goes on to say this in the article. Last month, Ubisoft dropped a surprise 60 FPS patch for 2016's The Division on PlayStation 5, with the game already being boosted to 60 frames per second on the Xbox years ago, thanks to FPS boost. You see that, folks? Years ago, PlayStation just got it. I'm just saying. However, it's looking like the French game maker might even have more plans for its almost decade-old co-op shooter, and these plans could be relevant for Xbox fans. And according to the article, as shared by our friends on Push Square, a leaked advert showing off the Division, quote, Definitive Edition has appeared online from an attendee at some sort of Japanese gaming event hosted by Ubisoft. Yes, that happened earlier this week. And yes, there was a picture of the Division 1 that it clearly says Definitive Edition. I have that tweet in front of me, and they're even selling merch, folks. So look, I'll say this. Yes, thanks to FPS boost, we already had 60 FPS for the Division 1. Awesome. The updated in graphics, great. And as great as we get this for free, for the whole price of free, if you are an Xbox player, you get these things like quick resume and things like that. I would absolutely love for Ubisoft to go to the well with the Division 1. Now, I liked the Division 2, but I abso-freaking-lutely loved the Division 1.
I agree.
Hundreds upon hundreds of hours in that game. I make no apologies for it. I was someone that hung out in the dark zone before extraction shooters was a thing. And I have a story that I've told numerous times, and I'll tell it real quick, like you always tell your ghost story, Infinite Umbra. Well, this one is a pretty cool one. During the early days of the Dark Zone, it's like the Wild West. You go out there, either you're going to get killed by an NPC, whether it be, some NPC is going to kill you, or you're going to get robbed by somebody or a group of somebodies that are going to find you in there by yourself. Well, my brother and I thought we were completely badasses. We had incredible gear. We had just an incredible run of killing some elites in there, got some big time gear, and we like, okay, now we got to get out of here. And this is where the goosebumps start to happen for me personally, because I'm a big nerd, and you know that, folks. But the pressure of waiting for that chopper to get you out, and then you got to get on there without getting killed. It's stressful. Well, my brother and I were waiting for this helicopter to come, and a team of 4 rolled up on us, and we were effed. We were like, you know what, Dan, we just got to come back in here, and he's angry. He's like, but I found all this gear, Boom. And I'm like, listen, dude, we're pinned down. They're starting to surround us. We're effed.
Y'all started talking like y'all were in Saving Private Ryan.
Pretty much, yes. We certainly were. And something, we used to talk like that when we would play G.I. Joe. So yeah. This is why this is me and my brother having this conversation.
Boom, you're like, you're with me, brother. You're like,
yeah. So right, bumping fists to the end and just run out into the open field and get mowed down, right? No.
Yeah.
But so what happens is we're pinned, the back literally backs to wall. It's me and him, and we're gonna die. Out of completely nowhere, ladies and gentlemen, a group of 4 other players come out, and now the group that was attacking us is now surrounded by everyone. My brother and us, and these 4 dudes. I don't know who they were. They didn't stick around, but they lit these guys up, and we flanked them. We killed them. We took their gear, and we got the F out of Dodge. And you know what they all did in unison? They saluted and broke the F out. It's like you know what? It's like my leg lamp story from the Christmas story. It's my personal. I could not believe what happened. Every time me and my brother get together, we're like, do you remember, like, old men? And that actually happened. So to be honest with you, and I know it has nothing to do with the definitive edition of the Division One, my long-winded point, Umbra, is that it's coming back. It's going to have updated graphics. It's going to look modern. I'm here for it. Again, while we wait, and we know for a fact there was a big story last week about the Division 3 is full on production. We're getting it. I don't know when, but I'll tell you what, give me the Division 1 in a remaster or like a definitive edition version. A yes, freaking please. Umbra, let's get your thoughts on how excited you are for this, because it sounds like you're a fan of this. Uh-oh. Did we lose Umbra?
Oops, I was muted. I'm talking. My bad. No, I was a fan of it, and much like you, I had a few crazy stories in the Dark Zone. When I first got in there, I was clueless. I was just going through, Central Park in New York. Took out a few bad guys. I thought I was doing something special. I was leveling up and everything. Like, yeah, I'm running these streets. These the mean streets of New York. Okay. This is no better than O Block here in Chicago. I got this. Man, I went to that Dark Zone thinking, okay, it's just going to be, me versus the AI. And, a few I took out were AI. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. I didn't properly read the
You didn't read the fine print before going into the Dark Zone.
And I'm thinking it's just going to be a little tougher zone. I'm like, okay, I can handle. I'm taking them out. I'm like, all right, it's nothing too much. Get some legendary gear maybe out of here. Okay, sure. Right. Well, I started going through. I went into the subway. I was grabbing some things, taking out a few of the AI bosses or whatever it were and enemies. And I'm collecting all this gear. I'm like, oh, this is what I needed to do all along. To collect me some nice gear and everything. And they're like, how do I get out of here with this? Oh, I gotta extract. Okay. I go and extract, and I see other players like going against the AI here and there. I'm like, okay, they're having a time of their life too. You all soldier on, do your thing. I get to this drop to the extraction zone. I'm like, all right, let's get out of here. I called the helicopter down, and time is going down. I think it was like 10 seconds left. And no sooner as 10 seconds left did I just start getting shot up and lit up from all areas. Like I'm just getting lit up. It was like me running to a Call of Duty game. That's all I hear when I play Call of Duty. I'm like, I cannot get jiggy with this game. Every time I turn a corner. So that's what it felt like. It was just everybody shooting me. And I'm on the ground like, ugh. I'm like, okay, what is this? I'm like, this is not the AI. Wait a minute. These are humans. They shot me. And they just start taking all my equipment. And then they extract with the stuff and I die. Yeah, I'm like, ain't this
you mother, father, sister, brothers? Yes,
absolutely. I was in that Dark Zone for a good 2 hours of getting all that good stuff, and I thought I was go home scot free, and I thought I had all the good stuff, and they took it all, and I had to learn the hard way. So I eventually did go in here and there, and I met a few, like you said, a few stragglers who good Samaritan types that had all the high level stuff that would take out squads of people. And would just let me go because they're like, oh, you just an innocent little new fish. You're not worth anything. I'm like, thank you. And I want to get away sometimes, But no, the Division 1 was pretty dope, I have to say. Division 2, I didn't play enough of it, but it didn't catch me like Division 1 did. And so as far as this, I'm with you. If they do this for the anniversary, go all out. Don't half-ass. And I keep going back to games like Resident Evil remakes and stuff. If you're gonna go out, go all out. Like that's what a remaster or remake should be. And I don't expect them to remake it, but a remaster should have at least very up-to-date visuals, which I think are carried far. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't, did they say they were updating the visuals, or was it just like stuff being added?
They actually didn't, and I looked for it, but when you say definitive edition, right? This game came out 100 years ago by our gamer standards, right? It was on the Xbox One generation, the PlayStation 4 generation. So those graphics, even with the boosts, they're a bit dated. No, don't get me wrong. I still think that the Division 1 looks phenomenal. It does, but
Yeah.
if you're going to release a definitive edition, you would think, and maybe it's me assuming, and you know what they say about when you assume, you make an ass out of you, and well, me, right? So
Right.
maybe I'm assuming too much here, but I think that this is going to get the next generation treatment. At least I'm hoping
It
so.
would be nice. The engine, like again, I was talking to some people about this recently, and I was talking about Ubisoft. It's become the thing to hate on Ubisoft, but Ubisoft actually has some great engine work, by the way.
Absolutely.
Paris said, I'm giving a eulogy for Xbox 2001 to 2026, or rest in peace. But we were talking about Ubisoft, and I said that they get slept on for their engines too, because from the engine, what is the engine they use for okay, for instance,
Snowdrop?
Snowdrop. So they got
Yeah.
Snowdrop, they got the Anvil engine. The Anvil engine is what they use for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and trust me, it is one of the most phenomenal engines I've ever come across. And I say this, as an Unreal stan, the Snowdrop engine, not the Snowdrop, the Anvil engine is almost running neck and neck in some ways and visually, and I think it's better open world wise. Like, if you play Assassin's Creed Shadows, you'll see what I mean, where you're not limited. The Unreal, as great as it looks visually, you have a lot of different issues with it. I can freely admit that. And also you have constraints as far as the open world. You get semi-open, but if you do open world, it's going to be a lot of work you're going to have to do for something like that to work. They don't typically do open world well, but that Anvil engine allows for that. So Ubisoft has a lot of great engines. So from Snowdrop to the Dunia engine to the Anvil engine, they deserve more praise, in my opinion. So yeah, I feel like if they can update the visuals for it, aside, I'm assuming they're going to give new weaponry and such, maybe a new class. Who knows? I know a lot of people love Predator and whatever, but so like they can add new class or something like that. That'll be cool. But yeah, I mean, like, look, we got part 3, which what was his name? Granger. I think that's the director's name. Like you said, he spoke of part 3 and he talked about it's going to be a monster, which I fully expect it to be. So we won't have long to wait. I would imagine in the next year, if not 2028. I'm going to be honest, I think 2027 might be the day, or the year rather, that we'll have part 3. So I guess if they were going to go out and do this, it doesn't have to have the visual update, but I would like for it to have it. And like you said, it still is a great looker. Like, if you power it, I'm sure I need to see how it looks if I put it on the old PC, now that they were talking about it. But I mean, like you said, it still is a looker. I would just want, for an anniversary, 10-year anniversary, I would just expect them to add a little more than, oh, here's a few new guns or something. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 10th anniversary, so I think they're going to do it up, personally. Jamie Moran, I know you like single player games, and I know that you are now addicted to Arc Raiders. And obviously, I know that somebody in the chat literally said, I think it was East Vandal. So shout out to East Vandal being here. He said that kind of scenario where people stop to help you happens a lot in Arc Raiders, which I think is pretty cool. And I bought Arc Raiders. I bought the deluxe edition when they had that big sale, which I paid, I think, 47, and it was normally 60. So I saved like $13. I have to play it. I have not jumped into it because I know that, like Jamie, if I get addicted, that's what I'm going to play. I'm still trying to finish off the Fallout campaign situation. Not the Fallout, not the campaign. It's the Fallout event in Call of Duty, and I'm almost done. Like, I'm literally like one 2-pack away from having everything unlocked, and I didn't spend any of my own money. I unlocked it by simply playing the game. But Jamie,
did
let's
they
bring
let
you
you
in,
unlock Lucy from Fallout?
I did. Now there was a pair of skins with her, but the guns is what I bought it for, where she's like in the 2 different outfits. I bought that because I have a bunch of Call of Duty points. I listen.
Do they let you say
Call of
okie
Duty.
dokie when you kill?
The okie dokie one, yeah. And that series is so good, man. It's getting even better. But if you missed it, go watch it. But Jamie, let's bring you in, man. Division 1 coming back in a big way to celebrate its 10th anniversary in March, right? That's happening. The definitive edition, I don't want to say it was leaked, but it was put out there on a billboard in Japan. So now we know, I mean, the cat's out of bag. It's happening. What do you expect from this? And are you going to go back into the division?
Before I get into the division thing, can I tell you a little Arc Raiders story quick?
Sure, please, by all means.
So, I've been playing Arc Raiders since the day after it came out. And basically, up until like a week before Christmas, I was basically going out into the maps, finding loot and extracting, right? I wasn't engaging with other players to like fight them. I wasn't fighting any of the big robots. And my friend said, I just play the game to go shopping, right? I would get stuff and sell it, right? That's it. And then about 3 or 4 days before Christmas, I'm opening this container and this guy's walking towards us. And I'm thinking, okay, here I go. I'm going to get shot. And it's this Polish guy. And he asks, hey, I'm going to fight the Queen. Do you want to come? Right?
That's so cool, dude.
I thought, okay, why not? Because I had a bunch of, bandages on us. So we went all the way to the Queen, which was the opposite end of the map. And me, him, and these 9 other people came over. And we all fighting this Queen. Took the Queen down after like 20 minutes. And we all talking to each other, healing each other and all this stuff. And it's fantastic. Like at this point, I've never experienced a shared or multiplayer game like this. And like my mind was blown. I was like, okay, so I've been playing shopping for 2 months, where I could have been fighting these, huge robots with other people like this. And it was an amazing experience. We get to the extract point. It was shut down. I had a hatch key. If you have a hatch key, you can extract whenever you want from specific hatches. And everyone came with us. And just before I opened the hatch, literally 2 of the people that were fighting with us gave me one of the best guns in the game.
Oh,
and
dude.
Another guy gave us the snap hook, which is basically a grappling hook, which is also one of the best items in the game. And we all extracted and never spoken to them since.
Dude, that's a freaking amazing story, dude. I love that.
Yeah. So
I was ready for the tragedy. I thought you were about to say
the No. I have had some betrayals in the past, but no, that was a great experience. And ever since then, I'm actively looking forward to fighting queens with randoms. And it's an amazing experience, and that's why, like, I mainly play single player games. That's why I keep talking about like why I mainly play single player games when I talk about Arc Raiders, because it's such a good experience. Now back to the division. I was looking forward to the division back in the day, basically for the same reason. A different kind of experience. It's a shared world thing. You can play solo or with other people, and I kind of burnt myself on the game before the game came out because I was in the closed alpha, the open alpha, the closed beta, and then the open beta. And then when the game came out, I thought, I've played the beginning 4 hours of this game 4 times. I can't do it. Right? And the thing is, the division, it's beautiful, right? You have, it's New York, it's snowy. It's, in my opinion, probably one of the best looking environments in any game. It looks amazing, like the post-apocalyptic nature of that city. It looked amazing, and I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. And then the Division 2 came out. I did the same thing. I didn't learn my lesson, right? So like I now with the Division 3 being in development and this Division, definitive edition coming out, I might actually give it a go properly this time. So I may check it out, and what will it be? I was originally going to be a negative Nancy when I was thinking about this, but I've played a bunch of Ubisoft's definitive editions and remasters. For the most part, they're kind of bad, right? But these are mainly older games. So like Assassin's Creed 3, they did a really bad job with that remaster. The lighting's messed up, the textures. Like the 360 version of Assassin's Creed 3 looks better than the Xbox One version, right? It's crazy. The lighting's better in the 360 version. Far Cry Blood Dragon, the 360 version's better. Far Cry 3, the 360 version's better. So like when I saw Division Definitive Edition, I thought, oh, they're gonna mess this up. But then I realized, well, it's an Xbox One game, mid Xbox One game. It had an Xbox One X enhancement. There's all kinds of stuff available on PC. So like I think they'll do a decent job with this. Massive Entertainment did the original. They know how to make really good games, and their games perform great. They look great. So like, I think you're gonna get all the content out plus maybe a little bit extra. Didn't they bring out an expansion for the Division 2 that brought back the Division 1's map?
Yes, the Brooklyn DLC. As a matter of fact, they were talking about it in the chat. The Brooklyn DLC is freaking dope. I'm playing through it now. I'm at the last boss, and she is a real mother, father, sister, brother. I'll say that. I
Yeah,
gotta
so
roll
I
with the
think
crew.
maybe they'll put some maybe some Division 2 stuff in the game.
Yeah.
But like it's gonna be a big money maker for Ubisoft. Like a really big, because people loved that first game. So
good, dude.
I think they'll do a good job with it. When will they announce it? I mean, Ubisoft hasn't had a showcase for about a year and a half, I think, or maybe 2 years.
It's been a minute for Ubisoft.
So like I think you might be seeing this announced like a state of play or something. But
yeah, they do. They have a 10th anniversary event already confirmed.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's probably when it's going to be announced. But yeah, that's going to be a huge money maker for Ubisoft, and I think a lot of people, maybe including myself, will actually give this a proper go this time around.
Where would you all like Division 3 to be based in? What city?
Oh, that's a really good question, dude.
I'm biased, so I'm going to say Chicago and get that out
I
of
think
the way.
Chicago would be. I think Chicago would be dope, but my brother seems to think Canada.
Canada.
He plays. He's been in the betas. He's been in the alphas. He's in it. Like he is in it when it comes to Division. And we were talking the other night when I told him about this particular story that we're covering right now. He was like, "Oh my God, yeah." He knew about it, but he goes, "I think they're going to Canada." At least that's what he said. Now he's not an insider. I mean, doesn't even podcast only once a year. But yeah, he thinks Canada. That would be kind of dope. I would. You know what? This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I'd love to see like Korea or Japan or somewhere somewhere in the East would be dope. Yes, Tokyo would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean they got a lot of other options. Obviously, you can do Brazil, you can do South America. So that's how you can do.
I want something with snow though, because it's something about the snow and
Russia.
Russia. Wow.
Yeah, Moscow.
Yeah. Oh, some people are saying LA. LA actually will be really good.
LA would be
LA would be good.
That would be kind of dope. I'm not going to front. LA would be kind of dope because you could run around the Hollywood sign or like Hollywood Boulevard. And you know what? The one thing about you have to give credit where credit is due when it comes to, the developers at Ubisoft that work on this game is that they really get close. Like I said, you've heard me talk about this, I think maybe even last week. So in Times Square, there is a very small precinct. And it's like a shoebox. I think there's like maybe a handful of people assigned to it, and it's really where when you get into a detail and you got to go down and cover like work in Manhattan for like overtime, which I used to do a lot of, you would converge there, and they would send you out to your posts from this little mini precinct, right? And when I say mini, it's tiny. That precinct that's in the Division 1 is almost spot on 1-to-1 of that mini precinct that's down there. And I know because I been down there 50, 100 times, for details. But you know what, Umbra, you had asked a question about graphics. Well, I have a definitive answer for you. See what I did there? So I have a story here, and it says, yes, the Division's definitive edition is in fact a remaster of the current gen consoles, and it is expected to have significantly better graphics than the original game, leveraging modern hardware for improved lighting, textures, and higher frame rates like the current or recently added 60 FPS for the updated PlayStation 5 to bring it closer to the original E3 trailer. Think about that for a second, because that E3 trailer was ridiculous, right? He closes the door, and you're like, that can't be the game. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get the definitive edition upwards to that. Yes, take my money. And I have Ubisoft Plus, so I don't have to buy it. But if there's a collector's edition, which I still have the original, and I have the watch. The watch still works. The orange watch is like, oh shit, we've been activated. I have that watch. As a matter of fact, I cosplayed as a Division agent at, when was it, man? I think it was, man. This is me being an old man. I think it was like in 2017 when I did this cosplay. I had everything. I even
Don't tell me you clicked into watch and went rogue on us, Boom.
I did not go rogue, but I did have the Dark Zone backpack on with the where we put all the contaminated stuff. I actually had that. I still have all my
Boom
gear.
holding out on us, y'all. He was out there talking to his brother, Neo Mental. He like, yeah, 10 for a half an eye out on this such and such. Take a shot. I got a bogey here on it. Y'all taking people
it was
out
fun.
of
I've never cosplayed before. It's like one of my checkbook things before I end this earth. So hopefully not for another 50 years, but that was one of the things I wanted to do, and I did cosplay at New York Comic Con.
Nice.
It was dope because it's fun just being there. You're dressed up and you're with everyone else, but it's when people want to take pictures with you, which is even more insane. And it was a lot of fun. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here. Let me make sure I'm caught up on super chats, and I believe we have one here from Will the Broke Boy Insider. Drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. Will goes on to say, Meta appears to be closing several studios. Twisted Pixel Studios, makers of the Deadpool VR, didn't that sell well? I mean, I bought it. And Sanzuro Games, oh my God, they created Asgard's Wrath, which is incredible. Oh my God, really, Will? That's a shame. Those two studios, that's a travesty of gaming justice. The Deadpool VR is freaking amazing, and that just came out, and it sold well. And Asgard's Wrath, that's a dope game. Oh my God, I can't believe they're closing those studios. That's gross. But look, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs that continue to come in to support the channel. Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful for that support because it does allow for us to do the big giveaways, and we have nothing up front in the beginning of the year. We usually try and back end the year because it gives us a chance to actually save the super chats, channel member chats, and stuff because we're still a small channel. And again, we did announce slightly announced that we are working with 8-Bit Dough. I'm very excited they reached out. They've sent out a controller I'm going to be doing a review on. I don't want to say what that controller is, but I have already put the dig in on Penumbra to get their elite controller they showed off that's coming out this year. I think it was at CES. Yeah. That looks dope. I definitely want hands on with that. Hopefully. Absolutely. I will get it. Oh, we have a gifted sub here from our brother from Hawaii who has done this more times than I have toes and fingers to count on. Nino Vestic has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership. And of course, aloha to you and the family. Thank you so much, brother, for the
mahalo, brother.
Yeah, mahalo for sure. And thank you for the incredible generosity as you continue to do. So, Jamie Moran, you have a show tonight with Logan Meyer called the All Things Xbox Podcast. But that's not the only thing you have working, because you have a video that you have been working on for, folks, get this, 2 months. And I'm sure it's going to be titled all of the games coming to Xbox in January because, well, it's January and we want to know everything that's going to be on the way. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people, or more so, when can people check out that video? But more importantly, tonight, tune in for the All Things Xbox podcast, which will probably have 12 to 17 topics.
Yeah, thanks, Boom. It's always a pleasure. So yeah, All Things Xbox podcast is on tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. I exclusively cover Xbox and try to cover Mass Effect at every given opportunity. We tend to have 12 to 20 something topics each podcast. It's a 2-hour show. It's always fun over there. No fanboy stuff. The chat's always great. My big video isn't actually a January list. That comes out in a couple of days. It's either tomorrow or Thursday. It's the biggest games coming to Xbox this year. Big video. It's taken a long time to edit. I've been talking about this for a while. I have this database of games that I know that's coming to Xbox, and like I update it basically every day. And the problem with some of these lists is that I've seen, and by big journalists, shall I say, they get their lists wrong. they get release dates wrong, release windows wrong, games that aren't even coming out this year, or games that aren't even coming to console. They do it all the time. So I've made this the most up-to-date, accurate list humanly possible. Unless something changes in the next day, it's accurate. But yeah, that video should be up in the next 2 days. It's taken 2 months to make.
Wow, man.
The chest infection hasn't helped, but yeah, I
Yeah.
hope people enjoy that. And yeah, all things Xbox podcast tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel.
Very nice, brother. We'll be looking definitely for it. And Infinite Number, let's sell the brand of the fix Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you and several panel members, along with guests, break down the latest and greatest when it comes to Xbox and gaming news for that matter. But it's not the only news. And quite frankly, that Spider-Man trailer that's expected to drop either this week or next is again rumored to be bombastic. There is a fourth teaser trailer where the Fantastic Four meets the Wakandans.
I was about to say, did
And
you see the newest one? I was just about to say.
yeah, I'm here for it, brother. I
was
listen.
about to say.
They're saying, and listen again. This is a stretch, folks. So we don't know if it's going to happen, but they're predicting that this film, the Doomsday, is going to break 2 billion with ease, and I think he's right. This is going to have, first of all, the runtime on this, if you didn't know, is over 3.5 hours. That is the rumored runtime for this thing. It is going to be 2 films in one. So don't drink anything if you go to see this, because you're not going to want to get up and miss a singular shot. But sell the brand, brother. Where could people tune in for the fix? 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And more importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
If I have to wear a diaper, I'll do it. No, I'm joking. Man, I am hyped for that, man. I have to say. No, the newest trailer, seeing that. Also seeing Cyclops in a previous one. I know everybody.
Oh, dude. Hell yeah.
Man, pulled the visor off and let loose. I wonder what went down. It had to be Gene. It's always Gene. But yeah, I'm hyped, man. That said, yeah, we had actual special episode of The Fix this Sunday. So if anyone had missed us, that was kind of our first episode for this year, and kind of a makeup for us missing this past Thursday. Check it out. It was actually a really good conversation. We had a good time, and we'll be going back live again this Thursday. So come by and check us out on The Fix. Myself, Daniel J. McGee, and Crusader. We go live at 8 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, on The Fix. Come by, check us out. As far as where to reach me, of course, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite, you'll find me everywhere, typically on the Hill site known as Twitter, where and reach out to a brother if you got something vital. And yeah, like, feel free if you guys got some gaming news and things like that you would be interested in hearing shared on the show. DM it to me. Don't feel shy. I'm all for it. Just don't try not to send like, well, this random person said we should expect, I don't know, Black Panther 4 before 3 or something. Like, okay, you didn't properly vet that. But yeah, come by, check us out on The Fix on Thursday. We'd appreciate it.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Chat, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us here on, again, 604 plus people watching live across Twitch, X, and YouTube. I put up a couple of shorts, and thanks to the software that I'm using, they are using AI and creating shorts for me, which is pretty cool. 2 of them were not usable because it's AI. It's not perfect. And 2 were pretty cool. And I did do a short today regarding the Xbox 20th anniversary controller that came out a couple of years ago. Well, there is a massive Easter egg that well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. It's only about 1 minute 31 seconds. Go to my YouTube channel, check out the shorts section, and you will see it. And as a matter of fact, today, right before we went live, I figured out a really good way to start doing shorts that only going to take me about 6 to 10 minutes to do with production time. And I have a bunch of controllers that I did not get a chance to unbox. The Fallout controllers are some of them. There are a few others that I'm going to be doing unboxings for. And look again, it's just additional content to add to the channel. Of course, I'll be cutting this down into some videos. I did a big Hammerfell video the other day that I loaded up. I think I produced it last night, but I uploaded it today. And it breaks down how we're going to get some new information this year on the Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell, and I believe that's happening this June. And again, check out that video. It's only about 22 minutes. And again, all of the generosity continues to come in. Mrs. Boom and I are grateful for it. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.